Welcome to this week's edition of the Elite Money Market Update with Patrick Marcel, who is the CEO and founder of the Elite Retirement Group. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and Patrick, what a joy to be back with you. How are you this week?
Fantastic. We spend so much time together
We
that
do.
it's almost like, we become friends. I found out that you were in Europe, you spent some time, you lived in Vienna.
Did.
So
I did.
Pretty cool.
Yes, very
Pretty cool.
fortunate to have done that. It was
Yeah,
great. Would love to
yeah.
go back. Oh, well, we do have a great time, and we also love helping you at home just continue to learn more valuable information so that you can be educated, empowered, and most of all prepared when it comes to your financial future. And I know you've put together another great show for us today, Patrick. We're going to be talking about legacy planning. What's your legacy? What do you want to leave behind to your heirs and to your loved ones? And what things do you need to take into consideration if maybe it's just you, right? That's another important consideration. But we need to start with the basics of just estate planning. And I don't know about you, Patrick, but I find a lot of folks want to avoid this subject at all costs. So why is that? What is it that keeps people from engaging in this really important estate planning process?
Well, I think it's pretty consistent that we don't really want to think about our own mortality, that we're going to be gone someday. The great unknown, if you will, what happens beyond here. And that really, it's not a driver, like, gee, I need to run out and do this. But I think what happens is that things will hit close to home. And when it hits close to home, somebody near you, dear to you, family member dies, passes away, and then the loved ones are left with what's behind. Then people typically are like, okay, I need to do something, let's get going.
Right. But I think the sad tragedy in waiting till that point is that when you're grieving, that is not the time on top of everything else that you want to have to wade through some financial mess that's been dumped in your lap. And so, what would you say to folks out there who maybe are a little hesitant to engage in this process?
Well, I know that in my life, it's been the things that have been hard are the things worth doing. So if it's hard, if it's difficult, most likely it's definitely worth doing, and it's so important. Realistically, we can say, well, when I'm gone, it's not my problem. Okay, that's one way to look at it. But I can tell you, for the loved ones left behind, it is a big problem, and it's a big mess.
It is.
So let's get the things taken care of now. And actually, I think probably some of the more important things to plan for is, what if it's not, you're just gone? What happens if it's linger, then gone?
Right.
What happens if you have some sort of long disability? Like our grandmother, she had Lou Gehrig's disease. Fortunately for her, it didn't last many years. It was a relatively short period of time. But still, do you want to be suddenly scrambling to do your legacy planning or your estate planning when you're in that position? Probably not. Then who's going to be able to pay the bills? Who's going to be able to make decisions about your health care? Those are all things that are really important. I think that you really want to work on now, and you want to get those things figured out before it's an issue and before it hits close to home, if you will.
For sure. So for our viewers at home, what are some basic things that you would say, okay, start here, right? Because I think a lot of folks just find it really overwhelming. They don't know where to start. So let's just break it down and unpack it. What needs to happen in order for our viewers at home to build a solid estate plan for themselves?
Well, I think one of the things that first of all, we should really examine and look at is sometimes people think, hey, Patrick, estate planning is for somebody that has a lot of money.
That's a misconception, right?
It is. I don't have a lot of money, so do I have an estate? Well, you do. And you have an estate, and I think it's important to look at your situation. And I always look at it this way. Think about you, worry about your situation. Don't worry about Joe down the road. What's important for you to take hold of and to figure out so that you have things in place to get things set up so everything goes as smooth as possible. So let's start talking about beneficiaries. Okay.
Yep.
So if we start looking at accounts like bank accounts, CDs, savings accounts, checking accounts, anything at a bank, we can go ahead and put a TOD on those, or I'm sorry, a POD on those. This is pay on death.
Right.
Okay, so we go to the bank, we say, hey, I want to make sure I have a pay on death. Or you can just say, I want to make sure I have beneficiaries on my account. And those are things that actually get missed quite a bit. Now, in the years I've been doing this, I've seen people are getting better at that, and they know to ask. And maybe it's they're listening to me on the radio, or they're watching the show.
Right, absolutely. Yes.
One or the other, right? But we're seeing people getting better with that. But then another one is...
And just to clarify, so what that means, that POD, is when you pass away, whoever's name is listed as the beneficiary, that's who's going to get that money.
Right.
Right?
So Patrick, you just write my name on there.
You're too much. You're too much. So
that's right.
that's POD, but that's an important distinction because now you're going to talk about some other things with
Right.
other types of accounts,
Yeah,
right?
so that's bank stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And then when we look at other assets like brokerage accounts, or when we talked about the 4 buckets of money, that cash account, the one that's taxable, then what we want to do is we want to put a TOD on there. So the transfer on death.
Okay.
So what that means is you pass away, and whoever you have listed down as beneficiaries, they'll get a portion of that asset. Okay. So however you want to split that. Another thing is to keep in mind, if you designate your beneficiaries and you want to change your mind later, that's okay. You can do that. Just change them. It's not very hard to do at all. Usually, if we get a lot of that at our office, our team does a phenomenal job of helping our clients get things like that changed and updated.
Right.
So if you change your beneficiaries and you say, I want to have these people now, a lot of times for us it's just a simple form. We fill it out, you sign off on it, we send it in, you're good to go.
Right. And that's, you know, what's interesting is it's been a long time, I think, since some folks have maybe updated their beneficiary designations. But the important thing to note is that whoever's name is written on that form, that's going to trump whatever a will says.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know that. They're not aware of that. As a matter of fact, this is really interesting. Earlier on in my career, I was calling folks that were part of my father-in-law's book of business, which actually he inherited from the agent before him.
Okay.
And I called, and one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure that they had all their beneficiary information up to date and they understood the policy they have. I just wanted to visit them, go over everything.
Right.
So I met with this couple, and I was going over things, and you know, this gentleman, he was probably wondering what I was trying to sell him because he was skeptical, and that's okay. You know, nothing wrong with that. And I was going through, I said, well, here's your beneficiaries, and this is your primary beneficiary. And his wife currently looked at him, punched him in the arm, and said, that's your ex-wife.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was a really, really good thing that we changed and reviewed those beneficiaries so we had it up to date, because he forgot.
For sure.
And you know what? Life is busy. You run into a lot of things. There's a lot to do, a lot going on. And that's why we offer the free complimentary roadmap, because it helps to go through all this and make sure everything is up to date and accurate, and that you have everything in order so that if something, God forbid, happens to you early or unexpected, everything's already in place.
Absolutely, so important. Well, and to that story too, I didn't even get to tell you this, but recently I was getting my teeth cleaned, and I was talking about being on the show and getting to be with you, and my dental hygienist said, oh my gosh, you have to share this story. She hadn't updated the beneficiary designation on her 401k plan from 25 years ago at her first job. It was her ex-boyfriend who she hadn't been with in over 20 years, and now she's married and has a kid. If she had passed away in an accident, guess who was going to get that money?
Yeah, regardless of what the will,
ex-boyfriend.
of what the will says,
Right.
that's who would have gotten the money.
Yep.
So if you're sitting there at home and you're going, gee, you know, I don't know what these guys all do at Elite Retirement Group. I thought they just manage money or they put a plan together. We actually look at everything.
Yes.
So when we do the complimentary plan for you, we're going to look at all the details of your entire picture. And we're going to help you go through, make sure everything is in good order, beneficiaries are up to date. And the thing is that we can help you do that in a way that's easy. And it isn't going to put a big cost in your burden on you. As a matter of fact, it's not going to cost you anything.
Isn't that amazing?
So
Yeah.
if you'd like to get your review and make sure everything is in good order, just give us a call at 833-856-1392, or you can go to our website at retireidea.com. You can schedule a time to visit with myself, Michael, or Victor, and you can either do it in the Kroner-Wetter office, which you can see right off the highway, I-39, or in Plover. And we'd love to see you, love to have you come there. And you know what? Let's get going on this. Let's get to work on it. We're going to work hard for you. All you really have to do is pick up that phone, give us a call at 833-856-1392.
Patrick, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, again, that number to call is on the bottom of your screen, 833-856-1392. You're also welcome to take out your smartphone. You can scan that QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, and that will simply take you over to a landing page where you can put in your information, and a member of Patrick and his team will reach out to you and be able to schedule you to come in and meet and have your complimentary appointment and get your complimentary Memories and Milestones retirement roadmap as well. When we come back, we're going to be talking about some of the tax implications for your estate planning, or the tax implications of a lack thereof, which we don't want you to have. We want you to be prepared. So stay with us. We'll see you right after this.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter. The one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Welcome back to the Elite Money Market Update. I'm Kristen Oakley here with Patrick Marcel, CEO and founder of the Elite Retirement Group. And Patrick, we love to have fun on the show. We are talking, though, about a pretty serious subject today that we want all of our viewers at home to have this valuable, helpful knowledge so that they, too, can be prepared. And we're talking all about estate planning. So if someone's watching the show today and they're thinking, gosh, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't even know where to start. Walk me through, what can you do for someone to help them start an estate plan or maybe update their current estate plan?
Right, good question. So one of the things that we try to do is we want to be a one-stop shop for folks when they come in. We want to be a place where they can go in and they can have their tax work done, they can have their estate planning done, and they can have, of course, the financial planning done. So right now what we have is we don't have an in-house tax person. That's a goal. We're looking to do that. But we do have an opportunity for our clients to be able to actually get some estate planning documents created and done. And we do that through a company called Trust and Will. And we partnered up with them, and they offer very, very reasonable wills and trusts. And it's really neat because what we do is we just help our clients walk through the questionnaire, and the questionnaire at the end will tell you what you need. It's actually really, really pretty easy. So it's really neat. You go ahead, we get that all set up, we go through it, and here's the great part, is that a will is less than $200.
Wow.
A trust is less than $800.
That's amazing.
Yep. And sometimes what we find, though, is sometimes people need a little bit more complicated planning. Sometimes there's more to it. Well, at that time, then we need to refer out to our attorney friends and have them help out because, quite frankly, there's sometimes we just need more expertise than what we're putting together. But at least we can get some wills, some power documents in place. We can get things, the ball rolling, because you know what? Something is better than nothing.
Absolutely. Well, I know one of the biggest considerations folks need to be thinking about are the tax implications of their estate planning or lack thereof. So talk to us about that because I know there's been some changes recently in tax code law. And so what do our viewers need to know specifically as it relates to their estate plan when it comes to taxes?
Yeah, a lot of times we think about estate planning and taxes as saying, well, that's somebody that's got $5 million or more, has a lot of money. Well, things are changing. That might not be the case for much longer. One of the things actually that's proposed today, we'll see if it gets through, is they actually want to take and start taxing unrealized capital gains. So what that means is, let's just say you bought a house for $100,000, and now that house is worth $200,000, but you haven't sold it. What they want to do is they want to start taxing you on that capital gains, the $100,000. And it could be as high, if you have a lot of capital gains, as 39.6% tax rate. Right now, that's 20%. And if it's unrealized, you don't even have to pay for it. So doing proper planning, doing some things smart, if you will, right now can really help us save a lot of money down the road. And we want to make sure we're really, really careful that hopefully this doesn't happen. But where I worry about it is I think about my friends that are farmers or have farms. And I think about, holy cow, can you imagine what this would be? A farm that you buy a farm for maybe inherited or whatever for a couple $100,000 or maybe $50,000 and it's worth $1.5 million today or more than that maybe even. There's a gentleman that we've been very, very fortunate over the years to be able to go out and enjoy his property out towards the Bevent area, Galloway. And his property is worth well over $1 million. And he's had it in the family for a very long period of time. But if suddenly came in, they said, you owe 39.6% in taxes of the unrealized capital gain.
Right.
I don't know what they would do.
Who would be able to pay that?
Right. So it's really pretty important to do that. And really the moral of the story here, kind of where I'm going with this, is that we want to make sure that we're staying up to date and we plan as much as we possibly can. And I usually recommend that folks do update or review their legal documents every 5 to 10 years. And actually, I think if you even have done it the last 3 or 4, you probably need to do it again.
Well, there's so much that can change. I've even heard of accidentally grandchildren or great-grandchildren getting left out of the picture because they simply forgot to go and update the paperwork once someone was born, right? I mean, that can happen too.
Yeah, it's from beneficiaries to creating a caveat inside the estate planning. And, I don't want to say too, to make sure that folks that are listening, don't get the wrong idea. We are not attorneys. That's not what we do,
Right.
okay? We want to try to help folks out to get some things in place, whether it's through trust and will or whether it's an attorney. Let them do the work. Let's make sure we get something in place so that it's easier for folks after you're gone. And things are much more succinct and lay out, and everybody knows kind of what they're supposed to do. Where sometimes people think, well, I'll just leave it all to the estate. I don't really need to do anything, I'll just leave it all to the estate. Okay, that's fine, but what happens when it goes to the estate? Your loved ones don't get to make the decision
No,
where the money goes.
You have an estate plan, but you have no control over it.
Right. So some attorneys and a judge will make the decision where everything
Right.
goes. And then the other thing too is that if you have a younger family, it's so important to understand what happens if you have no estate plan in place. If you don't have a simple will in place that designates who is in charge of minor children or who is the guardian, you could have a big rude awakening if one spouse passes. And I've actually seen this happen, and I didn't believe it until I saw it. But there was a couple that one of the spouses passed, and they did not have a will. They had nothing.
Wow.
And temporarily, the children went into foster care. It was a very short period of time. But because there was no designation of who the guardian was.
Right.
And it was just a real mess. And there were some other circumstances that led to this, and there were some other things that led to this, and it's not, we're just simplifying it here.
Sure,
But
sure.
I just want to make sure I impress upon folks that are watching is that this is really, really important.
It is.
This is part of the reason why we teamed up with Trust and Will, because we want to make sure we have an affordable way to be able to bring these solutions to our clients. And that's part of the package that we put together for our clients when it comes to the retirement roadmap. We call it memories and milestones because there's certain milestones that are out there that we hit that we need to make sure we plan for. Estate planning is one of those milestones that we need to really plan early.
Right, for sure. And the situation you just talked about, the sad part is that could have been easily prevented.
Right.
If they had just done some of these simple things and put them in place. And, we start off the show talking about how so many folks avoid this subject altogether. But really, at the end of the day, it's one of the most loving things that you can do for your loved ones is to get these plans in place. So if someone's watching right now and they're something sparked inside of you and you're going, oh gosh, I really need help with this, Patrick, what should they do?
Well, one of the things you can do is give us a call. It's easy to do. 833-856-1392. And here's another thing that we're going to do is that if we're working with you and putting a plan together for you and we're trying to help you get this estate planning put together, we're going to be there to help nudge you along. I have one of my programs that I can put a little reminder out there that'll remind you to get this done. But that's why we always still continue to meet going forwards.
Right.
So we've talked in other plans that, or other shows that we do this plan, and it's not just one and done.
Right.
We're going to continue to meet, review, and go over it, and that's what we do. And if you say, hey, you know what, I really need somebody to help me, coach me along, help push me a little bit, the best thing you do is pick up the phone, give us a call, 833-856-1392. You can go to our website at retireidea.com. You can see my calendar, Michael's calendar, Victor's calendar on there. You can schedule a time to meet in person, which we love. I like meeting people in person. It's so
Yes,
wonderful.
for sure.
It's like the best part of what I get to do. It's amazing. And then you can either see us in the Corona Rider office or you can see us in the Plover office. Of course, if you say, hey, I just want to talk to you over the phone first, that's fine too. So on that calendar, you just write in there. Just say, hey, type in, I want to have a phone call visit, and that's fine. But either way, either the website, retireidea.com, or give us a call, 833-856-1392. We'd love to see you and love to help you out.
Patrick, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, again, we encourage you to pick up the phone, make this important phone call. This really is one of the most loving things that you can do for your loved ones. And, it can give you the gift of having the peace of mind, knowing that you have an estate plan in place, that you get to tell your money where you want it to go once you're no longer here. So we encourage you, pick up the phone, just make that important phone call. It's simply an invitation to have a conversation to see how Patrick and his team are going to be able to serve you. 833-856-1392. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about one of the key questions that we often get, which is from grandparents and how they can begin to put money aside and leave a legacy for their grandchildren and other family members. And what do you do if maybe you don't have a family, but you want to leave some money to charity and leave a legacy in that way? So stay with us. We'll see you right after this.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back to the Elite Money Market Update. I'm Kristen Oakley here with Patrick Marcel. And Patrick, a very important show we're having today discussing all things estate planning. Before the break, we mentioned one of the key questions that you are getting from folks is, let's say they have grandchildren and they're wanting to know how they can start to set money aside for their grandkids. So what are some strategies that you've been able to employ for your clients who have that desire?
Well, actually, one of the things that's really interesting is recently they've changed when it comes to the college saving program. So you can take and you can put money into the 529 college savings program. And if they don't use it for school, they can
Educational
actually,
expenses, right?
educational expenses, they can actually roll that over into an IRA for themselves so they can keep that money.
That's such an important change.
Yeah, and it actually gives them a lot of options and a lot of flexibility with that fund, because what happened before is people were hesitant to put money into that because they thought, well, what if junior doesn't go, grand junior doesn't go to college, or they get a scholarship or something like that, and they just don't use the money. Where does it go then? Is it kind of stuck in this account? And that gives them opportunities to be able to use the money in different ways once they're beyond maybe school, or if they need it for school, great, fantastic. That's a wonderful way to do it. But I still see, for the most part, a lot of people are using what we call UGMAs or UTMAs, which basically what it means is a uniform gift to minors or uniform transfer to minors, okay? So those two accounts, they're very similar. There's some little nuances which you can discuss in person, but allows grandparents to be able to put an unlimited amount of money into these accounts if they wish, and then at the age of majority, those accounts would become the ownership of that child, and they would be able to have control of it. So it does give them some different opportunities, some different ways to do it. Another one that I've seen, which is a little more creative, and you have to do it just right, is what about starting a Roth IRA for your grandchild? If they have earned income, maybe they're working at the local store or they're working here or there, and they're not putting in money away, guess what? As long as they have income, you can put money in there for them. And that's a really tremendous tool right there if they have a Roth IRA, because the money that you put into a Roth, or if they put money in a Roth, the contribution can always be accessed before 59 and a half with no penalty. Now, does that mean you have to tell them about it? No. You might not want to tell them about it. You might want to say, hey.
Yeah, because when they're 18, the only question is going to be is, what kind of color Corvette do I want, right?
Right. Sorry, this is for your education.
Right.
But, and that's the nice thing too about the Roth is that you can actually dig into the Roth deeper to be able to take out money for post-secondary education. They've made a lot of changes. There's a lot of different ways to do it, and there's some limitations here and there. If you gift too much, then you have to file an additional tax form. It's not a real big deal, but those are things that we just want to be aware of, and we want to help plan. And sometimes some of the grandparents say, hey, I want to make sure the grandkids get something after we pass. Now, one of the things that we have not hit on too much yet is this thing called how your beneficiaries, how does the money flow if one of my beneficiaries pass?
Yes.
Okay, so there's per capita and there's per stirpes. All right, so per capita is pretty much how it usually goes, which is what that means is if you have 3 beneficiaries, so Michael, Patrick, Lisa, Lisa's my sister, so Michael's my brother.
Right.
So Michael, Patrick, Lisa, if one of us pass,
Right.
then the remaining 2 get the balance of that account. Okay, per stirpes would mean is that if I passed and my share that we inherit from my parents then would pass to my children, and it follows bloodline. But you have to know to ask for that.
And you have to designate that specifically
do.
per stirpes on the form. A lot of people don't realize that.
Right, you got to check the box, and there's a lot of people that don't even know the box is there.
Right. Or don't
And
even know what that means, right? It's
Right.
Latin. But
Right.
That's what it means.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. And it's one of those things that we focus on, looking at the small details for folks. When we're planning with them, we're going through all the little fine details. The thing that's interesting is that we see people that come into the office and we start pulling things together for their plan, and they say, well, you know, this is my 401k. Do you help me with that? Is there any advice you can give to me on that? And we say, absolutely, because we're interested in helping you with the entire picture.
Yes.
And then sometimes what we need to do is we need to say, hey, what's your beneficiary on here? How does, you know, how's this going to work for you?
Right.
And we go through that. We just want to make sure everything is in good order. And you know what? It takes time sometimes.
It
We
does.
aren't going to get it all done in one shot. We're going to have to work through it. We're going to have to build on it. But hey, that's why we plan, right?
Absolutely. Well, I know we only have a minute left, but I know you also help folks who are passionate about leaving a legacy and leaving money behind a charity. So what would you say to someone who's in that position, who maybe doesn't have a big family that they don't want to leave money to, or they have a surplus and they actually want to give back in that way?
Yep. Yeah, I think it's interesting to see families, the size of families have shrunk quite a bit. Some people just don't have children.
Right.
Or they want to gift now or at some point. And charities a lot of times are a really great place to be able to gift. And I was actually on the board of directors for the Epilepsy Foundation for a period of time. And they asked me to write the gifting policy.
Wow.
That's a complex critter right there.
Imagine, yes.
But what a lot of times people don't realize is that you can give directly to your charity direct stock or mutual funds. You can give cash, which isn't, I don't think, as ideal. So if you have a stock that you've held for a long period of time and it has gain, you can give that to charity. It isn't taxable to you, and the charity can really value from that and use that to their benefit. So there's some different ways you can do that. Also, if you are retirement age and you are the required minimum distribution age, okay, then you can actually direct your required minimum distribution right directly to a charity without having to have that as countable income.
Right.
So that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The big thing is let's get a plan together, right?
Absolutely.
Let's get together, enjoy some popcorn, some cookies. Come on down. We'd love to see you. But it all starts with you giving us a call at 833-856-1392. We'd love to see you. And thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy watching us in the future.
Awesome. Thank you, Patrick, so much. To our viewers at home, we appreciate you watching. Be educated, be empowered, and most of all, be prepared. We'll see you next week.